I want to do a follow-up video from my video about the SNAP food stamp program changes that were coming for able-bodied people without children. And the reason I want to do a follow-up video is because I read your comments. I read all of my comments, all of your comments, because they give me a window into how people think, how they reason, and then the emotions that they feel. And a lot of the comments were very emotion driven. And some of the people said, you don't have any compassion and things like that. But what people fail to realize is when someone tells you the truth, that is love. It may be tough love, but it's still love. A person that truly cares for you will, give you a warning and shine the light on truth and try to direct you in the right direction. Now, you say, well, who are you? But I'm just going to give you some personal information about me and how I came to my red pill moment when it came to finances and handling your finances. Okay. Now, when I first joined the military, I was very young. So I just wasted money. I just blew money all the time, So, I was raised in a poor working class family. Now, I didn't think I was poor because I never needed anything. I had food and shelter, a roof over my head. I had all of that. So I didn't consider myself poor, until I became an adult and started reading the income brackets and what they consider poor. So I never needed anything. But there were a lot of things that I wanted that my parents couldn't afford because they say my parents didn't make that kind of money. But I never considered myself poor. So I think that, I might have felt that I was deprived of things that I wanted. So when I first joined the military, I didn't save any money. I was just blowing money, throwing it here and there, buying every and anything I wanted. And I hated to hear the word save. Or when somebody would say save money, that would irritate me because my mother was a saver. And she would always say, save, save. And to me, she was saving to the point where we didn't get to enjoy things. So in my mind, the word save was like, I don't want to hear that word. So I was throwing and blowing money. Wasn't saving a dime, just having a good time, just whatever I wanted. So I was stationed in Utah. And one day, me and some fellow troops went into a Arby's for lunch. And when we got in there, there was this old lady working the cash register. Okay. And after she would take your order, she would hold on tight to the counter and barely walk to fill the order. Because in the fast food, you take the order. The person that takes the order has to also walk back, over there and take the things off the thing and try to fill the order as well. So this lady held on to the counter. She could barely walk. And she was holding on to the counter, walking. And you could tell she was in a lot of pain. And I knew that lady was not at that Arby's, at that fast food restaurant because she wanted to be there. This was an old lady. Nobody in that condition will say, I want to go work at a fast food restaurant today just to have something to do. It wasn't not like those, greeters at Walmart. A lot of those retirees, they stand at the door. Hey, have a good day. Well, welcome to Walmart. That's not a lot of hard work. But this old lady was holding on to that counter. And I was standing there in shock. I was like, oh my God, why is this old lady here? And it was lunchtime, rush hour too. But I began to think, after that incident, that red pilled me about finances because I realized that old lady had not planned for her future. She had messed up somewhere along the way when she was young, when she was in her prime. The food stamp changes said they were for people 18 to 49 years old. 18 to 49 is considered the prime of your life. Obviously, that old lady had not prepared financially for her retirement. So she was forced to work at an Arby's and couldn't stand up, could barely walk. And that terrified me. And that made me realize that I had to stop wasting money and think about my retirement. Because my dad always said, if you don't want to get old, the only way you can stop getting old is to die. In other words, if you live long enough, you're going to get old. You're going to get old. And then you're not going to feel like working. So if you cannot feed yourself, people, if you cannot feed yourself while you're in your prime, how in the world are you going to take care of yourself when you get older? That is why it's so important to work like a dog if you have to, while you're in your prime, and scrap and save and do whatever, so that you can sit back and relax when you're older. So after I witnessed that old lady, I went to see a financial advisor. And that is when I started investing in stocks. I started doing mutual funds, because I was like, wait a minute. I might end up like that old lady if I don't do something right now. I'm not going to be young and fit and jumping and hopping and skipping and able to leap over things and running and going on when I get, at a certain age. And where's the money going to come from if I've blown it all? That's when I got busy. That is the reason I was so upset and so adamant about, do not, if you're able-bodied, do all you can to work and take care of yourself. Because see, this is another thing I got from the comments. I read your comments. A lot of people think that people owe them, that they're entitled to help, that the government owes them something. The government doesn't have any money. The government gets money from working people, taxpayers, but nobody owes you anything. When you are a grown person, the only person that is responsible for you is you. I learned that at an early age. Okay, and both of my parents are deceased now. But as I've been taking care of myself since I was 18 years old, even before I joined the military. Only I am responsible for the roof over my head. I'm the only one responsible for food, my clothing. I'm responsible for everything. Nobody is responsible for me. And if you get that in your head, you want to sit around waiting for somebody to send me a check. I need some help. I can't make it. Who cares? Because when it comes down to it, nobody can meet your needs like you. Nobody can come fast enough with the money that you might need. If you need some money right now and you got to wait till the first of the month to get a check because you don't have it in your hand. If you work and make your own money, when you need something, you don't have to wait. You think about Katrina. You remember Katrina and all those poor people that got caught up and had to be rescued, and a lot of them went to that dome? Well, when you interview, I listened to the interviews of some of those people, and they all had the same story. They were trying to wait out the storm until the first so they could get their check. Now, the storm hit about, I think, maybe September 25th, around that area. And they said that, a lot of them said, well, we've heard this before. A lot of people thought, it's not going to be that bad because we've been told this before, because we've had hurricanes. But a lot of them was thinking, if I could just make it to the first to get that check. They were waiting for the government to send them their welfare check. And they got caught up because the storm hit before then. Just think about that. They didn't have any kind of money, any kind of means to get in a vehicle and get away, get out of Dodge. They had to wait, hoping for a check, and ended up having to be rescued. That's what happens when you don't have your own money, when you're dependent on somebody else to send me a check. I'm hungry. I need this. And they're going to send it when the mail could be late. Anything can happen, and you don't get the things that you need. That's why it's important to work and make your own money while you're able, while you're young. Because if you don't, you'll get to be 70, 65, 70. And see, nobody knows how long their health is going to hold out. Okay, you might be, as people their health might fail them late 50s, 60s. You don't know. But you had 18 to 49 to work like a dog, scrapping and doing something and putting money away and investing in your future, so that when you get to the point that you can't work, you don't have to wait on the government. You don't have to wait on anybody. You don't have to stand in a food stamp line. You don't have to do any of that. That is why I was so adamant about using these hands to make a living for yourself, instead of saying, well, I need some help. I need some help. Nobody in the prime of their life should be dependent on anybody. I'm talking about an able-bodied person. You're not sick, you're not handicapped, you're not mentally. Because see, able-bodied is also talking about the mind. If you're mentally ill, you'll be taken care of as well. That's included in disabled. They said able-bodied, but they mean the mind too. So if you have a healthy mind, a healthy body, and you're in the prime of your life, there is no excuse for you to need help. Because if you need help now, in the prime, you're going to need it when you get older. Because obviously, you're not doing something right in your prime to be able to even take care of yourself. That means getting some kind of education, some kind of skill. Listen, plumbers, heating and air conditioning, HVAC, electricians. Do you know how much money those people make? They make way over $100 an hour. You don't have to go to university. You don't have to, they make good money. So you have to do yourself nursing, all of those jobs that you can do, all this educational opportunities that you can get to better yourself while you're in your prime. If you say, well, I only make $7 an hour, that's your fault that you only make $7 an hour. It's time right now, if you're in your prime, to say, okay, I need to check out a vocational school. I need to do something to get a skill so that I can make more money. Instead of sitting around and saying, I need help to supplement my little income that I have now because I don't have enough to pay my rent. Because trust me, nobody cares about you but you. You may think somebody cares about you, but all you have to do is get in need and then see. Then you'll find out who really cares about you. So that's why I was so adamant. It's not that I don't have any compassion. It's the other way around. It's that I do have compassion. And I know what will happen if you live. And that's what's going on now. A lot of elderly people, and it's sad to say it, because I'm very compassionate when it comes to elderly people. I'll do anything for an elderly person. But it also, when I watch elderly people, I realize that a lot of them that are suffering right now is for the same reason. They did not prepare when they were in their prime. I want to be a person that when I get old and I can't live on my own, that I go to a retirement community, assisted living community. I can do that because I've put away, saved, got retirement set up so that, okay, I can't live on my own anymore. I won't have to wait on the government to send me a check. I won't have to wait on food stamps. I just go and live in an assisted living facility. That's what happens. But when you're old and you haven't saved, you haven't worked, and you've been dependent on the government all your time, when you get old like that, of course you get nervous when they say we're going to cut food stamps, even though they were not talking about the senior citizens. They weren't talking about the elderly or the disabled. But just hearing the word, they're going to cut food stamps. People, it strikes fear in people's hearts because they are so dependent upon that government source. And I don't ever want to be, you can talk about cutting all you want to. The only time I get fearful when the government says it's going to do something is when they're going to raise taxes, because that's when they're going to take out of my check. They can cut whatever they want to because the government does not give me anything. I earned everything that I have. So they say, we're going to cut this. Who cares? But if you're totally dependent on some kind of other source other than your own two hands, and they say, okay, we're going to stop doing that, we're going to cut that, then you're doing without. And that's the only reason I say these things. Because I had my red pill moment. When I saw that old lady, that scared me to death. That shocked me into reality. And I decided right then, I am not going to be 70 years old holding on to a counter, barely walking, trying to fill orders at a fast food restaurant. That is the reason I wanted to make this second video to follow up on the other one. Have a blessed day.